me, do you mind if I join you? Are you sure you don't mind? You're absolutely sure I won't be disturbing you?
It has well been said, sir, that the trombone is not an instrument for a gentleman. I rue the day when you first saw Ben Bloom and his 16 Baltimore buddies at the Alhambra Theatre.
Hello and welcome to the Mental Suppository. I'm Bret Herholtz, and my special guest co-host today is...
I'm Scott M. Graves. I'm founder of M the Media Project and SM Graves Associates, and we are in control of the Mental Suppository.
Anywho, today our guests are artists from Chap Hop, and just to let you all know, Chap Hop actually has a Wikipedia page. I don't know what that tells you, but it's for those who are unfamiliar with what it is. Chap Hop, they mention it as Chap Hop is music originated from England that mixes the hip hop genre with elements from the Chappist or steampunk subcultures and stereotypical English obsessors with such as cricket, tea, and the weather. And the other thing I love about it is it's just so much fun to listen to. And there's also, it just seems like, there's a lot of those mixes of like, like I said, like, it's a lot of storytelling and a lot of like, stuff like you could do a character from Jules Verne's or P.G. Wodehouse or somebody turning people ginger, all of that sort of, it's like, there's a lot of character creation. That is just a lot of fun to listen to. So my guests today are Madam Misfit, Professor Elemental, and Mr. B. Thank you all for stopping by.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us. Hey.
So I figured I'd raising cups of tea in all of it.
I think we're all on the tea, aren't we?
Boy, where's your tea? Get your tea out, otherwise this interview is not going to last long.
I've just been drinking water and Gatorade because.
There you go. Well, American tea, Gatorade.
Yeah. First stereotype out of the way. See,
excellent. We both got them in.
But like I was saying, there's a lot of character creation and a lot of the story. There's a lot of storylines that go with most of the music you have done. So I figured I'd go around the room and maybe ladies first and start with just tell us a little bit about yourself and your sort of how you got into this.
How I got into this? Well, the reason I got into this is actually sat in this interview. There's a man with a pith helmet. Well, so I've been performing for many years under many guises and all sorts, and I kind of I've always written silly like limericks and things at parties and kind of extended them, and I kind of kept it under my hat. I just did it as a family thing, and then I attended a concert by a certain professor, and I kind of told him that I could sing, and he just said, come on, I need some help filling my gigs. And extended his arm, and that was it. And I was kind of like, okay, I've told him I can sing, pressure's on, what's kind of fit for his audiences, and that's when I discovered. So I crossed the boundaries between Chap Hop. You've explained Chap Hop, but I also kind of have a following within Electroswing.
Yes, that was the other thing I failed to mention. But yeah, that's another genre of Chap Hop that just makes it so unique.
Yeah, so I straddle kind of the boundaries. So the kind of area I've kind of been focusing on is Electroswing, otherwise vintage remix, which is really kind of on the off at the moment. And I've, as a queen of Chap Hop, which I'm really excited to be the female in this ever expanding, we hope, family. Yep. Have been pushing Chap Hop slowly. Now and again, I'll release something really serious with a record label I'm associated with, and I'll drop in something a little bit kooky. And a track I dropped a couple of weeks ago on Bandcamp, all the serious heads have gone crazy over it. I thought, I just kind of keep dropping a little bit of silly out there, thinking, no, this is far too serious an audience I've got. But no, they love it, and slowly Chap Hop will hopefully take over the world as we know it. That's the plan. So yeah, that's kind of my story, really. I'm just growing. I'm the newbie of the group, and yeah, just really pleased that these guys have let me encroach on their ever so loving relationship, this brotherhood. that they started. So
You're also a singer as well.
Oh yeah, no. So
That's what
I'm
makes
a bit
it,
of
yeah.
everything. So I take I had some freestyle lessons, didn't we? Lovely, the professor.
We had a
Down in
lovely week
September.
last year, and
Yeah.
we did some freestyling with some of my favourite rappers in Brighton, and yeah, Madam Misfit smashed it. It was great. Annoyingly so, to be honest. I'm rather hoping to show her up, but it didn't work out very well.
It was rather alcohol fueled, but I felt good at the time. So yeah, I do a little bit of freestyle, mainly written word, but I also sing. I'm also a musician. My background is I'm a trained musician. I've been in the military for about 15 years, so that's my background, is full.
Oh, what branch of the military?
The Royal Air Force.
Wow.
So, I can't fly, before you ask.
Neither can I.
But yeah, so I've been a serious classical trained military musician for longer than I can remember. So it's so nice to get away from all the restraints of all of that and just have some fun. It's a breath of fresh air.
What's your instrument again you played?
I'm a clarinetist.
Oh wow,
so
I love the clarinet.
It's not overly stage friendly, but I'm starting with the electroswing stuff to sample it in, which is great.
Yeah.
I've got loads of sampling I've been doing recently for some amazing producers and that, which is it's been really fun, and on my own stuff. So,
You just need to know where to put the microphone.
I've mic'd, I've unmic'd. There's a lot of lipstick problem with a reed. It's chaos, It's kind of Jim plays a lot of instruments as well, so you know about the whole mustache problem with you don't play any wind though. You're just kind of a string man, aren't you?
Well, I do have a song called I Still Can't Play the Trombone. So I have sort of attempted. I have 4 trombones, which it's one of those things. I think I'm just like buying trombones. I don't really know how to play them. I just like to buy them and then just put them in a corner somewhere and think I'll learn that one day. No, it's the embouchure I can't. This thing. The great thing about trombone is obviously you're sliding up and down. So if you're trying to find a note, if you miss it, you can slide up and down. So I'm quite good at finding the notes. But it's just exactly, yeah. But it's just the with a stringed instrument or a piano, if you press a button or pluck a string, you know what sound's going to come out. Whereas if you blow something, it could be like it could be anything. It's any note could come out of it. So it's just that's the bit I have to learn, and I can never quite be bothered.
Just jazz trombone, you're fine.
It makes me think of the Jeeves and Wooster episode with Bertie Wooster learning the trombone, much to Jeeves's chagrin.
Exactly, and that episode, the original P.G. Woodhouse book of that, he was actually learning the banjolele.
That's right.
Yes, they changed it to the trombone for telly. Yes.
Yep.
Funnily enough, it was actually originally the banjolele. I don't know why they changed it to a trombone. I suppose it's a bit more dramatic, isn't it?
I think because they had like the whole minstrel show in that one, so they didn't want to like mix it up. So they had Bertie doing something other than the banjolele, which I don't understand that either. So
yes.
So hang on, I thought you invented the banjolele. I thought that ridiculous instrument could actually become pure money.
Oh no. Well, that's what it's what George Formby used to play.
Yep.
He played the banjolele. Yes, really. That was what most of his recordings were made on. So it's a thing.
Yeah.
So I've got a few vintage ones here and there that sometimes people will give me and say, I've got this thing. They're sort of these old things from the 1920s that just sound lovely.
Actually, my wife and I found in a town, Northampton around here, was a banjolele from the 1920s. It doesn't have any marks on it, so it's like we couldn't really place it anywhere. But it's really nice to look at. So I think it was my 37th birthday present.
Nice.
Yes.
Do you play it then, Bret?
A little bit, yes. I do.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Actually, I think between you and Peter Sellers was what really got me into wanting to try the ukulele.
Excellent. Oh, good stuff. Yeah, there's some surprising people that end up being ukulele players.
Yeah.
Apparently, George Harrison used to carry a ukulele around with him. Well, he actually used to carry 2 around with him everywhere he went, because just in case someone fancied a jam.
I think his car boot was full of ukuleles. That was the story, because his word was, you never know when you might need a ukulele. Which I just think the whole idea of having a trunk full of ukuleles, which actually might be a great name for an album.
A trunk full of ukulele, yes. See, in my School of Chap stream a couple of weeks ago, I did one. I call them a lesson. They're not. They're just me mucking about. But I grabbed all of the ukuleles. That's the thing, because they're quite cheap, so you end up collecting a lot of them. And so I ended up doing a track in a sort of Bonzo's intro and the outro style, but just playing all the different ukuleles I've got and making a tune out of it, sort of thing. It was it was a complete mess, but there you go.
Sounds either utterly beautiful and transcendent, or like a nightmare of banjo playing.
Both, I think. A little from column A and a little from column B.
Very nice. Madam Misfit, have you not ever thought of bringing the old clarinet into the Madam Misfit act?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have. It's just yeah, it's hard to mic. It's just, I don't know. I've been snooping around for a few years. I've done it on a few gigs because one of my other guys is I do a lot of vintage festivals under another name. And I used to take that out when I used to get really long sets or background stuff. And it was great, but I don't know. I've kind of looked at, there is an electronic clarinet I've looked at, oh God, what's it called? Like an Uzi or something like that. But it's like an electronic
electronic
yeah.
woodwind instrument. Yeah.
An Iwi,
Yeah.
yeah. I've looked at getting one of those.
There, you know
good.
what's interesting about an Iwi is that much of what we learn, I'm a woodwind guy myself too.
Oh, cool.
And so much of what you know about the way the instrument responds to you is the opposite with the Iwi. So if you've got ways of expressing yourself on a reed instrument where you would bend notes and so forth with a combination of your embouchure and your throat or whatnot, that you have to do the opposite roughly on an electronic woodwind instrument because it responds differently. And so it's almost like learning a whole new instrument.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought, is it kind of worth it? Is it what I'm really fell in love with the instrument about? Is it, I don't know, maybe I'll build it into the act at some point. I don't know.
I think a few clarinet solos would be great. And I think I don't think you should worry too much about miking it for live. Just make sure people can hear it.
Yeah, stick it in the air, bit
solos
of
would be
Benny, it'd be
magical.
nice. Yeah.
And I do trombone solos and I can't play it. So
You do teacup solos as well.
and teacup solos, yes. And spoon solos sometimes as well, yes.
You're a spoonist.
I am okay. Yes, I'm a bit of a spoonist every now and again, yes.
You should be on a police register somewhere.
I just love spooning. I do love to spoon.
Anything. I've seen him spoon dogs in the past. It's terrifying.
Exactly.
The professor's good at the flute, aren't you? It's not actually a flute, but it's
Recorder.
Flautist, absolutely top notch. Yeah, I've done a few flute solos in my time on stage, and more impressively, I use a small wooden child recorder to get the sound out, and every time it comes out, absolutely lovely, almost as if it's been pre-recorded. It sounds so good.
oh dear, bless you.
Gonna make some noise for those Chap Hop boys, cause there's a lady in town who's gonna take that crown. Oh, so cozy in Musketeer 3, you remind me of ladies sipping at your tea, telling life stories about your lyrics and beats, posting pictures of your facial hair to get the most tweets. Yeah, now what do we got? I guess I'll just go stop with the new kid on the block, Tom Wild Esquire. He might be smartly attired, but he's topping my list for a Misfit disc. So he wrote some song where he swears far too much. 36 times a word that rhymes with duck. You kiss your mother with your mouth, their language please. The F word is so naughty yet you say it with ease. Bits of Instagram, you're just a flash in the pan, a failed geography teacher earning cash where he can. Okay, a YouTube star, now that sounds quite bizarre. Paid your mortgage overnight and drive a Jaguar. Excessive facial hair, a student's for guitar. How original, now where do I start? I know at least 5 guys who already do that act. One of them I'll deal with at the end of this rap. Diversity, so bring on the battle, cause this Chap Hop scene is getting kind of old, and come and meet your queen. Let me see, who's next on my list? That's right, that fool with that ghastly pip, Professor Elemental. Professor my ass, he is nothing of the sort, with no ounce of class. Where's your 3-piece suit? Oh, your jacket's quite hip. Those trousers offend me, most likely from a skip. Now at least the other two meet the requirements of Chap. Have you even heard of Savile Row? Here's my man. Oh, they're your fighting trousers, more like big boy pants. Where's Jeffrey now to hold your hand? Dance, monkey, dance. You rely on an ape to rescue you from trouble, not only in life, but in lyrics when you stumble. No sense of musicality, relying on others. You're just a lyricist at best, unlike your Chap Hop brothers. So bring on the battle and roll up your cuffs, cause this fiery female has just had enough. Now I've reached the end of this cozy threesome. Save the best for last, and I have good reason. The founder of Chap Hop, the gentleman rhymer, Granddaddy B, more like old timer. So many fingers in pies, you're like a kid with candy. And 90s band, top DJ, banjo playing candy. Just pick a guys and stick with it. Lose that disguise on your top lip and realize that you're not hip. You once had beef with Elemental, no, not for me. Your brother less successful, so that's all cool now. Don't mean to brag, it's not what he told me. Why would I lie? Oh, Mr. B, let's face the fact, you're just a tweed-wearing rapper with some mustache wax. This bromance is over, I'll put it plainly. Madam Misfit, Chap-Up's leading lady.
That was Step Aside Boys by Madam Misfit. Going around the room, Mr. B, since you'd begun talking, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you developed this character. A lot of it I sort of found out about you through a friend who had some of your albums, and one of the first songs I remember was your Piece of My Mind, which you sampled the old Robert Crumb and the Cheap Suit Serenaders.
Yes.
Which is funny because I actually went into a bookstore somewhere and somebody was playing Robert Crumb. And I was like, is that Mr. B? And then I realized the song was going, it was a little bit slower. It was a little bit slow. I was like, oh, wow. And so, that I didn't know Robert Crumb was a musician. So,
well, yeah,
I knew of his art, but
he dabbled, didn't he? Yes.
Yes.
But well, yeah, no. I've done lots of other things in the past. I've sort of been a musician forever, really, for far too long, to be properly legal, really. I shouldn't be allowed, but yeah, I was in a band back in the day called the Schooner Boys, which were kind of a dandy punk band. So we did sort of punk songs, but about, we had a song called Decanter Riot, and what else was there? I don't know. There's all sorts of songs about, quaffing sherry, basically, mainly, and yeah, sort of sherry and a tiny spot of ultra violence and what have you. It was sort of Noel Coward meets Clockwork Orange meets The Clash.
Oh, I kind of like that.
That was fun. So I did that, and that was, I think, and Mr. B was sort of a combination of lots of other things I'd done, because I'd been in a hip hop band in the 90s, and I'd sort of made my own beats and what have you.
Right.
And I'd been, in the Schooner Boys, and also I started playing the ukulele around the turn of the century and started a band. I moved down to Brighton in 2003 and started a little banjolele covers band. So it's me playing banjolele and a bass player and drummer. But we do things like, covers of old rave tracks, anything that you wouldn't expect to be played on a ukulele, really, because everyone can play Sloop John B or something like that on a ukulele. But yeah, we would play old rave songs and hip hop tracks and things like that. And they eventually all stuff stopped, and then I just thought I'd just bring the whole thing together and see what happened, really, because it was part of me just wanted to dress better as well. Right. I enacted a thing called Suit Wednesdays, which was whenever me and my friends would usually go out on Wednesday, I sort of started to insist we all wear suits. I think I may have been the only one that actually stuck to those rules, but and then I just came up with the idea of Mr. B, and I might suggest the term chap hop came to mind, and I originally intended to I had it in my the whole thing sort of came to me in one sort of thing. I thought, okay, well, I'll do the whole thing from a Chesterfield armchair, and then I realized the practicalities of that were a little off, because one, carrying a Chesterfield armchair around everywhere you go is a little bit annoying, and also it's hard to play the banjolele in an armchair.
It is.
With your arms up there and what have you.
That's definitely true.
Yes, and the Piece of My Mind was the first track I released. Weirdly enough, it was actually released on a Japanese record label.
Really?
Because I was on tour in Japan with another band I was in called Butternut, which is me and a DJ from Northern Ireland, and we did a tour of Japan. And God, this is such a roundabout route, but we were on tour with Butternut, and I did a thing under the name of Sergeant Rock. And when we were went out for a meal with the promoters in Osaka, and I mentioned Sergeant Rock, and the Sergeant Rock thing I did, it sold nothing. There was, I was signed to a label, but it didn't sell anything at all. And I mentioned I'd done Sergeant Rock, and then suddenly there's all these Japanese guys go, "Oh, Sergeant Rock," and they all seemed to know who I was. So I was, "Oh, that's interesting." And it was in the days of MySpace, so I did the first Mr. B song, which was A Piece of My Mind.
Yep.
And I didn't have a MySpace page for Mr. B, so I thought I'll bang up on the Sergeant Rock page, and then I'll do something else. And they were putting a compilation in this label called Second Royal in Japan. and they said, "Oh, we'd like to put a Sergeant Rock track on it." So I thought, okay, fine, we'll have a look at the MySpace page. There's a few tunes on there. And they said, "Oh, we'd like to put this track, A Piece of My Mind, on there." And so I'd say, "Oh, well, that's not actually Sergeant Rock. It's actually this new thing I'm doing called Mr. B, the Gentleman Rhymer." And so, yeah, they put this, it actually went out on a Japanese compilation album.
Oh, that's amazing.
Sadly, I was hoping to get an album out and everything there after that. But sadly, the band I was in, after the tour, I came back and I spoke to the promoter afterwards and said, "Oh, you know, because we had an album out there." And I said, "Oh, we really enjoyed the tour. And how's the album selling?" He said, "Surprisingly badly." And he decided that hip hop wasn't the thing to be releasing in Japan, so he wasn't going to release any more hip hop. He was going to release indie stuff. So yeah, so that kind of put the kibosh on a Mr. B sort of Japanese album. Although I did, you know, I played there a few times afterwards, which was lovely.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
Doing quite well until you toured it, and then everyone saw it.
Exactly. Yeah, probably was. Yeah, pretty much it. We went on to yeah. Well, you know,
I love the suit. I didn't know the Suit Wednesdays thing, and I love the idea that whereas because I was sort of in normal jobs for so long, I was like, "I gotta get out of this suit and tie. I can't wait to escape the man." You spend your entire adult life as a musician being like, "Oh, I fancy smartening up for a bit." I think that's really lovely.
Yes, that's quite nice. Well, that's the whole thing. It was almost the other thing. I remember being on our honeymoon. We met a couple from Belgium, and the guy was going, "Why do you always wear a shirt and tie and things like that? Why do you do that? It's so like." I thought, "I'm rebelling. You know, you're just dressed in shorts and a t-shirt. This is rebellion. This is." I'm wearing this stuff.
Not only that, there's been like a really great evolution of the character too, from the early Piece of My Mind till now, with like, you know, growing out the stash, and the suits have evolved as well. They have.
I've got the siren suit on now. Check this out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. The onesie. Excuse me. Yeah, it's cut a little bit. So
built for smartness and comfort, that isn't it? It's lovely.
It certainly is. Yeah, it does the job. So yeah, I just taken to wear these siren suits, which I rather like.
How'd you come across that? Doing the idea of wearing the siren suit?
Well, it was. I mean, it's not. Yeah, I think Churchill sort of invented them because like during the war, they were called a siren suit because he wanted something that when the sirens went off, he could just throw it on and still look smart, but be comfy. So I've wanted one for ages, and then eventually got this one made by a friend of ours called Louise, and then luckily my wife is a costume designer and a pattern cutter, so she's made another. I've got a burgundy velvet one, and then a more everyday navy blue one, which is a little bit less showy. So that's my, you know, strolling, my flaneuring around suit.
Your version of loungewear, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So yeah, I just thought, and also it's one of those things that I didn't want to be. It's when you do these things, it's easy to get sort of pigeonholed into, you know, being steampunk or being vintage.
Yep.
And I wanted to just have something that's slightly separates you out from people a little bit.
Right. No, that's understandable.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of ukuleles, I actually have one of mine right here. So I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, very nice.
You know what? You can't present a musical instrument on a podcast, Brett.
Yeah, I know you can't, but I'm showing them.
No. And then not play.
And then not play it. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Actually, that was one of the first songs I learned. I haven't told her, she hasn't told me, but we know it just the same.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Brett?
Yeah, absolutely.
So guys, is in the UK, is this strictly an urban phenomenon right now, or are people listening to Chap Hop all over the place? Has it become a cultural phenomenon yet, or is this still, you know, in your own neighborhood?
If you go to pretty much any town in the UK and you go to urban areas on a sunny day, the windows will be open and they will be blasting Chap Hop. The young people in their cars are playing it. Old ladies are playing it. People having picnics playing it.
Exactly.
From Scotland from Land's End to John O'Groats, it's wall to wall Chap Hop. And it's amazing.
Nothing else.
And that's what I'm asking. So if I summered on the Isle of Man this summer, there's a Chap Hop festival, right? I mean,
yeah, that's exactly where we have it on the Isle of Man.
Yeah, that's probably the right place for it.
And an old man and a dog watching, and probably you if you're on holiday.
Yeah.
But look, Scott, you don't really need to. That's almost, it's almost cruel to ask a question like that when you know full well you're talking to the only 3 people in the genre. Probably work out how popular it is.
Yeah.
Well, listen. Thousands of people are listening to this podcast.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Nice.
At the beginning, this is how it first kicked off. We were small. We were small time until we hit this podcast.
Now there's 5 of us.
Now I'm blushing.
Now there's 5. Now there'll be more than 3 of us making it and stroke listening to it. Planning it up in the British summer, then a house in the middle of a suburban South London street brought out to me, less than exquisite, it bid me to quiz it. I asked it, is it possible to visit the good old days? But all was great because people around here seem scared of late. The house said that's just human nature. People are easily fooled or fake too, born in a space you only see so far. Unless you look properly, then you see past the kind of nostalgia that's but a farce. An empty shell, a plaster cast, they worry about it too late, then invent a cop-out, a foolhardy sentiment like, wouldn't we just love things to be the way that we imagined that they used to be, but actually weren't, wouldn't we just love things to be the way that we imagined that they used to be, but actually weren't, remember when you were young, with your awkward ways and your silent tongue. Mean care follows with fretful lines. I've been tarted up, but I'm the same inside. Same foundations, walls and space. Same frustrations set in place about past glories which were never there, but I was and still am. Constant, stoic, unheroic, bricks and mortar, an epizoic mold that flares up when it's cold. Just more signs I'm getting old. People want to feel assured when they're both scared and rather bored, so they dive into a lie about the past and times gone by. They sing, wouldn't we just love things to be the way that we imagined that they used to be, but actually weren't, Wouldn't we just love things to be the way that we imagined that they used to be, but actually weren't, Wouldn't we just love things to be the way that we imagined that they used to be, but actually weren't, Wouldn't we just love things to be the way that we imagined that they used to be, but actually weren't, actually weren't.
That was The House by Mr. B, the Gentleman Rhymer. Well, actually, moving on to the professor. Actually, I met you. My wife and I met you in at the Watch City Steampunk Festival in Massachusetts. Yep.
Oh, yes, lovely. Oh,
Yep.
yes.
I was the one who gave you the illustration based on So Long Sally.
That's up in our kitchen.
Oh, is it?
Yes, I got a bit befuddled. It's hard at steampunk events because
Yeah.
you have so many meetings with people with beards who are
Yes,
really.
it's true.
It's really hard to sort of like. So it takes, particularly when you're overseas as well, in your minds are like, I'm gonna have to play. And in Watch City, it was I'm gonna have to play a massive gig in a park, in front of loads of strangers.
I think what he's trying to tell you is he doesn't remember.
No, I understand that.
I do remember. What I'm trying to do is apologise for not having recognised earlier.
Oh, don't worry about it. Actually, it's funny because we were going to the you're reading your Professor Elemental's Tales of Wrong that day, and we were trying to get to the get to the gig, just thinking we want to get a seat. And my wife Sid looks over, and goes, "Is that?" And I was like, "Holy mackerel, it is!" So we just walked up, and you were talking very nicely to this small family, and that's when I think I gave you a copy of the illustration as well as a copy of Alice. So.
No, it's beauty. It's an absolute beauty, sir, frankly.
Thank you.
And yeah, for those of you, I mean, you probably do know about this if you're listening to his podcast, but Bret's art on Instagram is a source of continual pleasure to me. So yeah, follow it.
Oh, thank you.
I love it.
Let us talk a little bit about yourself, Professor Elemental, and the development of how you came across developing your character, and it's a sort of the continued evolution.
I stole a hat. No, and stole a safari suit from my housemate, and I found the hat in a junk shop that I genuinely had not seen before, have not seen since. It was the one time I'd seen this shop. I bought the stupid hat on a whim. But yeah, I did normal hip hop for a long while, but was slightly mismatched in a world of kind of battle rappers and kind of sort of pantomime aggression, which I appreciated it, but I was never going to be part of it. And then some friends were just putting on a Victorian variety show, sort of filled with lots of acts that were too terrible to be booked anywhere. So they all clubbed together to make like a really terrible show. I was like, oh, I want a piece of this action. So we did that for a long while, and that kind of enabled the character to develop from a sort of one-trick pony with just one song about cutting the heads of animals and putting them on other animals into something that, and I think, as is always the way with these things, just luck of the draw. The steampunk just took off just at the time I put my little cup of tea song out, and with just beautiful synchronicity at almost exactly the same time as Mr. B started his thing as well. After I got over the idea that could have possibly happened, we became friends. Then it just became a thing. It was really nice. Then we did it for about uninterrupted for about 8 years, and then someone came along and started disrupting things. Comfy and cozy, started dissing us, making us sharpen up again. So that's been lovely, and I'm sort of Jim and I share a lot of parallels and a lot of differences, and I kind of try to leap into as many subcultures as possible, being like a real nerd. So I really like try and get as involved in steampunk as possible and all of the kind of sci-fi and comic stuff, and that's kind of enabled lots of I haven't got any musical talent, at all. I can just about shout over beats. That's literally the only thing I can do. So I have to make up for this lack of banjo and production and clarinet by finding other talented people and leeching off them as best I can. And this kind of
you could get good at all of those simultaneously, and then where would you be?
Yeah, I'd be winning, and that's never going to happen. So I've managed to team up with like great comic book artists and lovely writers, and of course Tom Caruana is.
Yes,
we mentioned him because he's a very talented producer who makes all of the music for me. Went up to his a couple of weeks ago, and it was like turning up with a sort of armful of tangled wool or something. I was like, Tom, I got all of these bits. Do you want to make an album with me? And I had all these kind of odd recordings, and some people had done their bits in a wardrobe, and some other guy from Australia had sent a bit of trumpet. I sort of chucked them all at Tom, and then 2 days later we emerged from the studio, and he's just made this beautiful album, which I shall take credit for. It's amazing.
That was the other thing I was going to talk about. Working with somebody like Tom Caruana, or and it just, this sort of collaboration where you sample things like old songs, like putting like one of the songs you put Flatfoot Flugie and the Floydoy at the end of it. And I just absolutely love that. I just, I think that's what makes this music so unique, is just these samples, or doing a cover of, say, Inspector Gadget, which, really kind of touches a sweet spot in my youth, having.
Well, the world you're always doing comes something, doing hip hop anyway, hip hop is built on the foundations of taking lots of bits and pieces and putting them into other formats, as is the kind of soul and funk before it. So yeah, it sort of makes sense really that we would be sampling nostalgic things or old-fashioned, or doing cover versions of songs that have long since fallen out of favour. And Tom, I love that about Tom production is often to finish a song, he'll just cut the beat off and let the rest of the track play, where once it was like a little loop sample, and I think that's a really lovely musical flourish of his.
Well, that's part of the beauty of that's the thing that I fell in love with. Weirdly, I sort of fell in love with sampling via probably the Justified Ancients of Mumu album, 1987, What the Fuck's Going On? They started the whole thing off with a song called Hey Hey We Are Not the Monkeys, which sort of sampled the Monkeys theme and a couple of other Monkeys bits and Little Richard, and suddenly it was just this whole mess of, a whole mess of sort of cultural signposts. And I think with what we do, what we sample is so integral in what what we're putting across. It's like it's like, here's a sample from 1920s and here's a beat from the 90s or something.
Right.
Here's a rap about whatever it may be, somewhere in between.
That's quite a British thing as well. Like this was before you were born, Madam Misfit, like in the early 90s. But like with the sort of hip hop in the UK, I think because we were kind of getting it from Americans and then doing our own thing with it, it's been kind of quite silly right from the off. And some of the sort of foundations of UK hip hop had some really sort of silly topics for songs, things like Cold Cut. I remember for me it was a similar sort of time listening to Cold Cut for the first time, and they were sampling bits of Bugs Bunny and all kinds of stuff, because no one had really caught onto the copyright laws. No one cared what they sampled, which now it's done a full circle a bit like that. Like Madam Misfit, when you did Inspector Gadget, it's not like you have to kind of seek permission for it, is it? You just do it and hope for the best.
Yes, I think luckily we kind of fall just about under the radar of that sort of thing, is that people will clearly think, oh, they sampled that, but they've clearly got no money, so we might as well not bother suing.
Yeah, I released that with a label as well, and I kind of like, how do we get around that, guys? And it was actually a karaoke track, so it wasn't the original. And there were some slight differences in it, so it was just enough. I think there's a percentage of alteration that allows it to seep through, so that's how that one got through.
Tom Caruana did a thing called the Magical Mystery Chambers, which is the Beatles mashed up with the Wu-Tang Clan, and instead of taking like Beatles songs, he used weird cover versions, like old soul and funk cover versions, and then put loads of rap in it. And it got really popular, massively popular, like wildly so. He was just giving it away. And the New York Times got in touch and did an interview with him. And they said, are you a bit worried about sampling, the most well-known band in the world? And in his naivety in the interview, he went, no, I reckon it's probably fine. And then got a letter the next day from or we will take your soul.
Exactly. I'm surprised he got away with doing it at all. Usually if you're in any studio, there's so if you so much as play the Beatles in a studio, this siren goes off.
I don't know how the Beastie Boys got away with it back in the 90s when they sampled Sgt. Pepper and the ending track on Abbey Road. So
they paid. They paid.
Yeah.
They did? Okay. For some reason, I thought that was like the beginning of,
Well, because by then they were being produced by Rick Rubin, and they were
Gotcha. Okay.
For lack of a better term, they were legit, right?
Yeah.
So they basically paid for the privilege.
Funny enough, with the Beastie Boys, the one time we got a sample kind of cleared, we got into, because my old band sampled Slow and Low, and we just our label boss got in touch with their people, and we actually got a letter from Mike D saying, do what you like, we don't care. Which is right, okay, brilliant. They was just really like, yeah, of course, it was hip-hop sample.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
So basically sample the Beastie Boys.
That's beautiful.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I think it's with hip-hop, obviously it's partly to do with my age, I'm 45. It means that my era for hip-hop was the kind of early 90s.
Yes.
Just prior to anybody caring about sample clearance. And as the 90s wore on, everyone was so scared about being sued that all the music got really stripped down, and it made it all kind of rugged and like basic, which is good in some ways. You know, it means there's some like amazing people like Gangstar and stuff and Tribal Quest. But I love it when there's lots of layers to something. And yeah, both Jim and Madam Misfit do like incredible music with putting not just doing a sample and some raps, but you add lots of music to it with singing and banjo.
You are lovely. Honestly. Wow! Have you done your hair? Got a new suit, you done something there. Got a brand new dress or fresh underwear. You should never ever be left unaware that you're hard to beat. Got a lovely smile that makes me want to be worth your while. I asked around, did a quick survey. You came in first from Friday to Thursday. For skiving a work day, you're the best company. Every day's your birthday. You deserve luxury, cock of the walk, top of the tree. You totally rock, you've got what you need. Whatever you're doing's getting done today. Whether it's thunder or a sunny day. And whatever came before's not a factor. Anything in the future doesn't matter. Because you are really nice. You are worth our time. You are just enough, and I will sing it twice. You're the BSDs, you're the cat's pajamas, you're the sardines, whisker, and the clown's garter. You are really light. You are fabulous. You are worth all the fuss, and I will sing it twice. I'm not trying to chat you up, just back you up, make sure you're standing up, to give you a hand to grab, and it's tough to stand or they hand you, have some love. Have I said too much? Well, I doubt it, looking for a mountain so I can shout it. When it comes to the fun, I'm done waiting, invite everyone to the celebration. There's free cake and there's no one hating, for heaven's sake, we just love your cadence. You're the bullfrog's beard, the elephant's adenoid, the hummingbird's ear, the sardine's whisker, the dog's best work, you're the hen's front teeth, you're the butterfly's book, you're a tuppeny, a pippin, the very thing, on a mission to tell you you're everything. You're non-sensational, I'm in your corner, I'll take them all. If it's us against the world, that's fine with me, until everyone takes time to see that you are really nice. You are worth our time. You are just enough, and I will sing it twice. You're the BSDs, you're the cat's pajamas, you're the sardines, whisker, and the clown's garter. You are really light. You are fabulous. You are worth all the fuss, and I will sing it twice.
That was Cat's Pajamas by Professor Elemental.
That really is the case too. That early 90s, you know, with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and whatnot. And then all of a sudden everybody, as a sax and clarinet player, it was a wonderful time because suddenly everybody discovered P-Funk and they discovered horn music and Tower Power and so forth. And suddenly you could get gigs playing 70s rock and disco music, horn band music. It's like, what is all this stuff? Who's P-Funk? And it's like, you got to check it out, man. Maceo Parker, you know, all that. And we had like a 5-year window here in the States where you could make a lot of money doing that. And then it went back to, you know, not doing
That's also the thing with P-Funk as well, is like George Clinton was always, I remember discovering George Clinton when I was about 14 and Parliament. And just, that was a big, apart from musically being a huge influence, just the way he created a whole universe around himself with all the characters like Sir Nose Devoid of Funk and Star Child and Dr. Funkenstein. And it's part of really kind of like come through to what we all do with creating this whole world around ourselves of these kind of odd characters that are semi-imaginary.
Definitely. There's a good lineage of it, isn't there? You know, we sadly lost Shock G. From
of course.
That was inspired by the sort of P-Funk movement. But then even, I mean, Mr. B particularly are both influenced by Vivian Stanshall, for example.
Oh yes, Bonzo Dog.
And he you know, he had an onstage persona and did lots of things and different voices and lots of different.
He also was the master of ceremonies in Tubular Bells.
Of course, yes, yeah.
What were you, Madam, I don't think I've asked you this before, but what were you listening to coming up? What kind of stuff did you listen to, but just prior to making your own music?
You asking me or Bret? Oh, her.
Oh no, she's asking Madam Misfit.
Oh, sorry.
What am I into? What am I inspired by?
Yeah, well, what did you like? Well, whereas I was listening to old Tribe Called Quest, and Jim was listening, being inspired by KLF. What was your, what made you go, oh, I want to make music?
Oh, well, I had a huge phase. I was big into ska punk. I was massive into bands like Real Big Fish and Dropkick Murphys. So I really love a big heavy horn section, and I'd love if I ever got the chance to go out with a band and just to write more beefy brass. I can't play brass for the life of me, but yeah, there's something about you just having if you ever had the band with a big old sousaphone, just something, I love it. And then Jim's got a double bass, which I'm desperate for him to bring out. And just, I'm just a lover of real instruments. I love like sampling and that, but there's nothing worse than really bad synth brass. And I just love real. It can be a good synth brass, synth clarinet's awful. But so I've got a lot of punk and ska kind of, and then I kind of fell into like the indie, the kind of stereotypical. I mean, so much of my style was just drained away from me once I joined the military. You must like Bach and Beethoven. So it was, it's nice to be free. But I think that rebellious side of me is what I hark back to when I write as well. It's that fun. Real Big Fish was a huge like passion of mine. I used to go to a lot of their gigs and stuff. So I think that's that punk. And then I have been having chats with my label and they're looking at trying to develop some kind of punk swing, ska swing kind of brass.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah,
that's just what I was about to say. I could so see you fronting like a punky ska band. And absolutely, and creating a big old mosh pit. I could see the demonic look on your face as loads of people got bashed in the head doing a massive mosh pit at your bed.
Yeah, that'd be my home. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Actually, the Dropkicks were actually from Scott and my neck of the woods.
They were clients of mine in the late 90s.
Oh, really?
I was in record production and artist management for a brief time. We literally produced them. We were manufacturing their recordings.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Forgive me, I must excuse myself. I have another engagement.
Are we not entertaining enough for you? I do apologize.
I want to finish by saying I hope you guys keep up what you're doing, because I love the cultural mashup. I love the characters. I love the stage presence. Like, you got to keep doing it, man. And we got to make this a big thing here in the States.
Well, we literally have no choice.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm unemployable, certainly. Yeah. I've not had a job for about 27 years. So.
Another thing the five of us have in common.
There you go.
Well, it's funny. That was one of the questions I was going to ask was, just dealing, right now dealing with COVID, and a lot of, touring and playing live is your, has been your bread and butter. And just getting through that, how have you guys been managing?
Oh, what have you been doing, Jim?
Well, I've been doing quite a lot of streaming. But
you have been doing a lot of streaming.
Yes, I do. Well, every Tuesday I do my isolation parties. Basically, I had a big birthday last year, 29 DJ age, and I thought I'd do a little party, because I've been back in the day I've been a DJ for years as well. So I thought it was just right at the start of lockdown in April last year. So I just thought, right, I'm gonna have a little party at home. And we'll, I put it on Facebook. I think it was like a live party on Facebook, and it went down so well that I did another one the week after. And tonight I'm doing number 52.
Oh, that's fantastic!
So it's a weekly party that sort of starts at 8 o'clock on Mixcloud, mixcloud.com/gentlemanrhymer. But I've also been I started the School of Chap Hop on Thursdays, which is mainly me just mucking around with whatever. I've got a sort of a Boss RC505 loop station thing, so I do a bit of beatboxing, and I've got a couple of little gadgets like this lovely little thing, the Teenage Engineering OP1 synth, which is just a beautiful piece of kit. It's incredible. it's like, and the whole thing's like a bit of a video game in a way, the graphics they've got on it, what have you. But it's like a synth and a drum machine and that sort of thing. And so I just sort of make music and muck about generally. And then let's have a look. Where's my thing? There we go. That's the compressor thing, which is you put your things through a cow's stomachs. And yes, you turn those and it just changed. Yeah, there's always these sort of
finally some instruments I'm interested in. This sounds fantastic.
Exactly. This is great. But yeah, so I do that on a Thursday, and I'm animating a new video. I'm doing that on various days here and there, usually in the mornings, and doing that on Twitch. So yeah, the School of Chap Hop and the animation things are on Twitch. I've done a few. It seemed to be last year there was a lot of online gigs, whereas they seem to have tailed off this year. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but
a little bit. I mean, they've tried because I tried the online thing, and I don't quite understand how it works, because I did I think they did like 221B Con here online, and I didn't know if I was just like how it really worked. You hashtag yourself on Facebook or Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah, exactly.
What other cool kids
Let
are doing
people
nowadays?
know as you possibly can that it's happening, and then hopefully people turn up. But yeah, and I've been doing a bit of lino printing. I'll do a bit of art and what have you.
Nice.
So I've been flogging that on the website. But I think I don't know, I think the prof's probably the same. We're still able to sell a bit of merchandise, and
good.
People are downloading our stuff or streaming it, the tracks. So we're still getting a little bit out of that. And clearly I seem to have found out that turns out going on tour at the time is very, very expensive.
Yeah.
Because somehow I have not lost, I don't seem to have lost a lot of money out of this. Although I was touring constantly, clearly buying 3 meals a day and a load of beer and
that'll do it.
Hotels, so you don't make any money at all, and petrol.
Yeah.
You might as well not bother.
Well, you talked about animation, and that was something I used to be really into when I was younger. Okay. I used to take drawn animation class at this local art museum, and it was just always something I've always loved to do. So
well, I just use it's a really simple app called Rough Animator.
Oh, okay.
And it's a simple drawn 2D animation package with the onion skinning and what have you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's really, really simple. You can just drop an audio track in there and just draw along, really. If you've got a little, tablet thing and a pen.
Yeah.
It's dead simple. I mean, if you look at the actual individual, it's one of those things that's the beauty of animation. If you look at the drawings individually, they are rubbish. They are terrible, just like scribbly line drawings. But then, put a load of them in a row and you've got something kind of magical.
Exactly.
That's been lovely.
I'd love to do an animation. I'd absolutely love, or a stop motion. I'd love to do that. Just
yeah.
Take the time to do that.
Well, it's it's relatively not too difficult to do.
Time consuming.
Just time consuming.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. That's the thing. I've been doing this animation stream for a good few weeks, and I currently have 52 seconds of material, and like the first 20 of that was just the credits of just me writing Mr. B the Gentleman Rhymer 70 times.
A bit like that Parks and Rec when he loses his job and starts working on stop motion animation and spends a month making it just a tiny segment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing.
Oh, that's great. I can't wait to check it out when you release it.
No, cheers. Well, absolutely. You can tune in while it's happening, because it's as it goes along. I'm adding seconds to it as we go along, really, on the stream.
This on your live stream, right?
Yes, on twitch.tv/Gentleman Rhymer.
Wonderful. Okay. Yeah, people definitely have to check it out.
Yes. Thank you. No. If you wouldn't mind, that'd be lovely.
Oh, absolutely. Madam Misfit, how have you been getting through COVID and just keeping doing new music, or just getting your word out and getting people to buy your music or merch?
It's been hard for me, because I was kind of ready for this big launch of Madam Misfit. I was ready to kind of build it up and release an album and leave my job and step across, and then the world just kind of fell out.
Yep.
And so I did continue to release an album, but I've never actually sold the album at a public gig, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just so I launched Electroswing last June, which was great. I had some amazing feedback from it. Again, it was very exciting as someone as silly as kind of I am in this character, to release with almost a very serious kind of label, but it was great. It was really nice. I like the idea, and I hope that the two guys don't mind that pushing chap hop beyond boundaries. I mean, I've already mentioned kind of into
the punk genres and non-note. And now Electroswing, I was on a YouTube channel the other day that pushes a lot of my stuff out. And these, what is Chap Hop? This is amazing, you know, and it pushing it further and further and further. And, you know, who knows where Chap Hop will have evolved in, 10 years time. It'll just be, so it's exciting to have jumped on board with this. So as well as the album, I've been doing the online shows, kind of not really for monetary, more for kind of pushing merch, but also as I'm a new act and that, just kind of helping get my name out.
Right.
Made a few music videos with the help of the audience and the fans, which has been great. And then as it is kind of trickling out now, because the online shows are stopping because the gigs are sort of coming back in,
right,
this weird time. But I've actually been picking up a bit of kind of private commissions, whether it's doing some sampling, or I've started doing some writing with Fiverr. I do a lot of stuff on there as well. So I'm
not familiar with that. Fiverr it's called?
Yeah, Fiverr. So it's kind of like your Etsy or your eBay, but it's kind of like creatives. So so people, I've got some kind of demo videos, and I can either write some rap verses, or I can rap and record their verses. And it's kind of it keeps me in beer money when I can drink in a pub. So
keeps you busy. Keeps you busy.
It keeps me busy and keeps the brain. I think that's the otherwise you
Absolutely.
just kind of lose it. Definitely, it's fun to keep writing. Definitely, but I've still got a book full of. I am working on the more Fiverr stuff that comes through. My stuff kind of keeps getting pushed to the back, and I'm desperate. I'm working on 2 amazing tracks at the moment, but I keep kind of itching. They come to the top of the pile, and I'll get another commission. It's
right.
So it's going to be as good as Inspector Gadget when it comes out in the 80s. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that was. Like I said, that was my era. So cartoon watching.
So that's keeping me busy.
Sorry, can I just say I've just gone a little slightly OCD thing. I'm directly above you, Madam Misfit, and I've just lined my curtain up so it exactly goes on the Zoom thing. I just feel like let's just there it is. There we go.
Madam Misfit. Don't let him rest comfortably.
Let me sit on your curtain.
A new song by Mr. B.
Sitting on your curtain. No, let's not. No.
Waiting for the van to come. Oh, now I'm gonna get sued.
No. Hey.
Prof, how have you been keeping busy aside from seeing videos on Instagram of you debating with your children bedtime and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's been a lot. There has been a lot of parenting. Madam Misfit's the same. Balancing creative stuff and actual parenting at home has inevitably been a challenge. But I'm lucky. I've got a kind of bunker in town that I've been escaping to on a regular basis to keep me sane. And I didn't really enjoy the whole time of online gigs. There was a couple of good ones. There was one, Chat Pop and Cheese was really fun.
That was fun.
Mr. B and Tom. But other than that, I did one online gig where I was in the middle of the night. I'm in the middle of town. I'm on my laptop. I'm dressed in my full professor outfit. And Brighton is a buzzing place. It's Saturday night. And it's just silence across the whole town. Nobody's doing anything.
Wow.
And I'm playing for 3 people at some imaginary convention with a mouse constantly running across my floor. Just thinking, how has it come to this?
I know.
Oh, I felt so sorry for myself. I was like, look, if I could see myself now, this is a tragic situation. So that side of things I didn't enjoy, but I taught myself how to record music, so I wasn't relying on having to go to the studio all the time, so I record vocals. And in terms of sort of projects, I got home yesterday and I was sort of exhausted but buzzing. I said to my partner, I was like, I think today, the day. And she's like, what are you talking about? I think I've reached my creative peak. Because I've never had so many projects on the go. There's kind of 3 albums in production. There's sort of pitches for cartoons. There's a horror anthology TV show that I'm working on. I'm doing an animation with one of the chaps from Aardman to pitch another sort of thing, and writing books and all sorts. And I think I've just having spent so much time being out and about, just touring all the time. Being at home does, it forces you, if you're privileged enough to have the time and space to do creative things, which I've been lucky enough to do, then it's kind of forced me to focus on the writing aspect. And it's great. I'm just throwing everything against the wall all at once at the moment to see what sticks. Some of the things that I'm working on will never see the light of day, but I think as long as you've got the feeling that whatever you're working on is fun as a journey, then the destination becomes slightly less consequential. It won't matter quite so much whether they will happen or not. So yeah, I'm enjoying that aspect of it. But my God, I do miss seeing people.
I know what you mean.
Crowds of sweaty people, making them do a conga as I shout, "I've got a horse," over and over and over again. I mean, that's what life's all about, really.
That's the thing about the online gigs, is that I found the worst of it was finishing a song.
Yeah.
And then just going, "Da-da." So that was that song then, and you just have to sort of work out a way of just outro.
Practice gone down so badly, isn't it? That's what it feels like. All the signs in your brain are telling you that went down flatly. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
You've got a 20-second delay before the little emojis come up the screen. You're like,
Oh yeah.
we liked it.
It is the worst thing. But yeah, that's something I should mention in the kind of, rather than just shouting, I'm doing loads of stuff. I put a lot of effort into Patreon as well. That's Patreon and bespoke songs. So not like Madam Misfit, someone wants a song for their birthday or anniversary.
Yes.
They kind of get in touch, and that has been a really good. I don't know about you, Madam Misfit, but it kind of keeps the creative juices flowing, because you've got a deadline. You have to write a song about something you haven't chosen to write about. So it kind of like, they're good little exercises, I think, to kind of keep you mentally fit.
Yeah.
Well, the Patreons themselves as well are a good thing to just keep you on your toes, because you've got to give people something.
Yes.
So you either have to find it from the past or come up with something.
Yes. We're both lucky enough to at least have that, haven't we? Occasionally going,
Yes.
What about this old thing from 10 years ago? Do you like that? What about that?
Yeah.
God. See, I'm not brave, and I haven't started my Patreon yet. I know Paul keeps pushing, but I think not pushing. I don't know. It's just kind of making sure I've got enough stuff to put out there. But
It does take. It took me about. Paul mentioned it to me like 4 or 5 years ago. Said, "Oh, you should get on this Patreon thing," and I left it a couple of months and thought, "I've missed the boat." And that was like in about 2016. And he was saying, "You should get on it. It's good. It's a good way of just keeping people in things and making a bit of money on the side." And it took me until lockdown to actually pull my finger out and do it. But once you do it, again, it's like getting the songs together. You just do stuff. You find people don't tend to want too much, and also you work out all the. That was one of the things I work out what everyone gets in all the different tiers.
Guild.
Right.
Yeah.
The guild of chat hoppers that I've started, and it's and you find that people don't really care. They go, "I just want to give you this much money every month, and just give me something."
Yeah,
I don't.
And you can swap people as well. You can overdo it. There are people that I've followed in the past on Patreon that you feel so worried about it, presumably, that they just send something every day. You don't need something every day.
Right.
Just put out stuff when you've done some stuff. Some of my favourite Patreon people that I follow, I don't hear from them for a month, but I don't think, "Oh, that's outrageous. I haven't seen any of their art for a month." You're just delighted when you see it. So yeah.
Yeah.
But much as I did to Mr. B, Madam Misfit, I do recommend it as a nice to keep you going while we wait for the gigs to flood back in.
Yes.
I've actually had quite a lot of people ask me about it, which has been lovely. So maybe it is there.
Well, that's good. If they're asking you about it, that's a good thing. Because I know a couple of friends I know that started a Patreon page and then stopped it because one person joined. They go, "I'm making £3 a month out of this."
Sometimes people do everything right and it just doesn't, for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you just never know. That's the whole thing with this crazy business we call show. We just never know.
Right.
Like.
Oh my goodness, this has been wonderful.
Oh, jolly good.
And we've never been together. I know me and Jim have never met properly.
You know?
No.
Well, I've met Jim as a fan in an audience.
Oh, yes.
That's about it. So,
yes, we had a photo or something like that.
In the Voodoo Rooms in Edinburgh. Yeah.
The Voodoo Rooms. Ah, yes, Edinburgh. There we go.
All three of us. I still like whether it's a show or a song. I would like I get asked that an awful lot, and I think it would be a lovely combination.
Yes. I couldn't agree more. Just, hopefully when the world at some point opens up again, just, the three of you doing a show or a song, or, well, you don't even have to go out and do a song together, with technology, but just having the three of you on stage together, I think would be great.
That'd be lovely.
Yeah. It would be fun.
Work.
That's something to look forward to.
Yes.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much for having us all.
Yep. I think that, Thank you all for. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Speechless.
Yes, I am.
Into submission. Our work here is done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And actually, before we end, I could ask each of you, where can people find, just as a last shout out, where can people find your work, or where can people find out about you? start with Madam Misfit.
Oh,
Oh,
look at
look, I'm
that.
all ready. Look.
Oh,
Beautiful.
nice.
Cool. So there is only one Madam Misfit, like any of us. You just basically put me into Google, Madam Misfit, and you'll find my website. So you can buy physically my only album. If you buy it physically from me, it comes signed and sealed from me. You can buy all my stuff digitally, but it goes to my label. So far nicer for me if you buy it physically. Also, there's stuff on Bandcamp as well. I'm releasing a lot of stuff exclusively there because wonderful Bandcamp, and it's Free Friday has been great support to a lot of us. And me and the Professor released a cover of Big Bad Wolf.
Yes, that was really good.
Ago. So Battling the Black Dog, but yeah, just basically whack my name into Google, madammisfit.co.uk, and all the online streaming sites. Yeah, you can find me that way, really.
You heard it, folks.
And for me, you can find me at professorelemental.com or at the Patreon, which is just patreon.com/Professor Elemental. And yeah, it's exactly the same as Madam Misfit, and I'm sure Mr. B as well. You know, where possible, buy our stuff and never forget. I know we all use it and it's quite ubiquitous, but never forget that Spotify is the enemy of every musician everywhere.
Right.
While it might not be able to be stopped, we can at least listen to us on there and then buy the occasional thing from our website to help prop it up.
And I take it your Patreon's not being run by Jeffrey.
No, I don't let Jeffrey run a bath, let alone my Patreon. Get off to the wardrobe.
I just much say I'm on gentlemanrhymer.com, although yeah, that's where you can buy most of the merch and what have you. But again, it's bandcamp.com/Mr. B the Gentleman, or no, Mr. B the Gentleman Rhymer.bandcamp.com. And I've just released the my label, the CHBC, the Chap Business Concern. I've just released a compilation of various what we might call acts from the label, perhaps, which is it's basically me under various different guises, starting all sorts of things like a sort of shoegaze grime act called Prince Nez and various other things. So that's just been released and that's been nice. But also again, the Isolation parties are at mixcloud.com/gentlemanrhymer, and my School of Chap Hop and Procrastination. It's a bit harsh, but my animation little things on Twitch as well. So yeah, all those things, and Instagram's at Gentleman Rhymer. Maybe just look for me. Like we all say,
we're easy to find.
Yes,
we're all easy for publicity, trying to get it into wherever we can.
And not if many other people could pull that tash off. So, yeah.
Well, no, people have tried. I did learn early on. Do specify that it is real, because otherwise drunk girls will go and try to tear the thing off.
Oh, damn.
I learned that very, very early on, and I definitely said, right, it is real, so please do not tug on it. If you want to touch it, often people ask if they can touch it or give it a little twirl, but it is real, so please do not try and remove it.
You heard it first, people. Don't tug the stash.
Exactly.
Or gently, anyway.
Yeah.
And depending on the situation we happen to find ourselves in. Anyway.
You heard it here first. Besides not tugging the stash, please check them all out. Their work is fantastic, and just show them your support, because they're really great musicians and great artists, and it's just a hell of a lot of fun.
And lovely people.
Yes, lovely people.
Lovely people.
Big Chap Up family, aren't we? There we go.
Yeah,
exactly.
All right, I think that's just about it.
Great stuff.
Yep.
Cheers, guys.
I'll let you all.
Very much, Bret.
Yep. Oh, you're very welcome. I'll let you all know when it goes live. So.
Yes, we will tell the world.
Yes.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Very much, chaps. Lovely to see you both. Well,
yeah, good to see you all too. We'll catch up. Let's have a little Zoom ourselves at some point.
Yeah, all real nice.
Go down the pub, Let's go to a pub garden.
Brilliant.
You two can.
Anytime, I'm ready.
Oh God, I can't wait. Okay, I'll get that over the next couple of weeks. I'm coming.
Okay, beautiful. Lovely job.
Nice to see you. See you soon, Sarah.
See ya. Bye.
Take care, lovely.
Good night.
See ya.
I would like to thank our guests, Madam Misfit, Mr. B, and Professor Elemental, for stopping by today. On behalf of Scott Graves, thank you for listening to The Mental Suppository. Until next week, this is Bret Herholtz saying,
I knew I'd disturb you.
The Mental Suppository has been produced by Bret and Jamie Billings and distributed by The Media Project. Theme music generously donated by Mr. B, the Gentleman Rhymer. Visit his webpage at gentlemanrhymer.com. We would love to hear from our fans. Email us at mentalsuppository@gmail.com.